Hi, welcome to Chapter and Verse. I'm here today with a fabulous person who I've known for many, many years, Steve Katz. Steve was the founding guitarist and founding member of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the Blues Project, the Even Dozen Jug Band. He's an author. You should read his memoir. He's a photographer. He was a record label executive, a record producer, all around very talented guy, and he's married to a woman named Allison Palmer, who is a leading ceramicist. So, hi, Steve.
Hey Rick, how's it going?
Good,
Uh,
good.
I have one question for you since we've seen each other. What's new?
Well, my life mostly that I'm writing these mystery books.
You're doing a lot of stuff. Yeah, I've been following what you're doing. It's great.
Yeah, it was also kind of weird because I also have been recording some rock and roll on my home computer, and I put out a rock record, and it went to number 4 on the international charts a couple months ago. I didn't
Wow.
I didn't make a cent off it, but it was a
Yeah.
cool life experience.
Yeah, nobody's making a cent off of anything in rock and roll these days,
I
except
know it's probably
big names.
all right. So, what are you doing right now? And then we'll go back to the beginnings.
Well, I retired. I actually was doing performances for a bunch of years after it was behind my book when I put my book out 10 years ago. And I've been playing all over the country, and my show is really stories and songs. And I just retired last year, and happily, but I'm not really retired because my wife and I started a business of her ceramic artwork, well, almost 30 years ago, and we've been doing that, and it keeps me really busy. So,
Oh, well, cool. Well, I've been online and I've seen your photographs and I've seen her ceramics, and they're quite
yeah,
good. All of the
thank you.
above.
Yeah. I think she's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's cool. Well, if you ever decide to do your show again and you come out west here to the Seattle area, let me know.
Yeah, I'd love that. I love that. That area that you live in is great.
Yeah, yeah, no, we're enjoying it here.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to, I guess it's Schenectady, New York. Is that right?
Well, that was when I was what was it, 10 years old or 15, I think. Well, no, I was 10 years old when we moved to Schenectady from from Queens in New
Oh,
York.
okay.
And yeah, and it was fun. It was like the 50s in Schenectady was like a Leave It to Beaver kind of childhood. It was really fun. I mean, I was a budding juvenile delinquent. We'd go out and break picture windows and stuff like that. But it was a great childhood actually. And I started singing. I was in a program called Teenage Barn that was on WRGB in Schenectady.
Oh, cool.
And it was live TV, and I forgot my lyrics one night, and so what was supposed to be a half-hour program turned out to be 35 minutes because it was live TV. So I was fired. That was the first job I was fired at. Yeah. Then we can move on to Mercury Records, but that's a whole other thing.
Oh, but talk to me for a minute, though. In Schenectady, was it in Schenectady when you started studying guitar with Dave Van Ronk? And
No, that's when we moved back to Long Island in around 1960. And
okay,
I started falling in love with folk music and with the village. And I would go to Greenwich Village by train and just hang out and go to the Gaslight Cafe and walk around to the different coffee houses and stuff like that. And that's where I first saw Van Ronk at the Gaslight. And there were a lot of people playing down there, like Tom Paxton and Dylan and Noel Stuckey, who became Peter, Paul, and Mary,
right.
and people like that. And I would sit there just like just loving all of this music. And I asked Dave if he gave guitar lessons, and he said yes. And so I started taking up guitar. And I would go to Dave and his wife Terry at the time. They lived on West 15th Street.
Okay.
And by the time I started, Bob Dylan was staying on their couch because Terry was managing him. So I'd go up there and we'd have to like play really softly because Dylan was still sleeping most of the time. I was dreaming about his movie that was they were going to make about him. So,
That's cool. But you also studied with Stefan Grossman, right?
well, no, Stefan was my friend actually,
Oh,
and
oh,
Stefan and I we started with a few other people, the Even Dozen Jug Band. And
okay.
even though I was a guitar player, I wound up as the washboard player in that band because there were too many great guitar players in the band. But no, as Reverend Gary Davis,
Yeah.
who Stefan studied with, and then I studied with Reverend Davis for a few lessons, and wound up driving him to different gigs and stuff like that.
So when did you start? Was it the Even Dozen Jug Band? Well, you were playing washboard. So when did you start transitioning to being the guitarist in a band? Was that the Blues Project or
That
was
was
it?
the Blues Project, yeah, yeah. The only reason I was the washboard player in the Even Dozen Jug Band was because I was trying to play the bongos when I was a kid. And I figured, okay, it can't be that different. And it wasn't that different, you know. I just went from calypso to ragtime in like one night, and I got, the job. It was fun. The jug band was fun.
I'll bet it was.
We
So,
made a really, really good record for Elektra. Paul Rothschild produced it, and it was myself and John Sebastian and David Grisman and Maria Muldaur, some great people in the band.
so,
And
so did you know that all of them were going to go on to the success that they had at the
oh,
time?
none of us knew. No, none of us knew what we were. No, none of us knew what we were doing or what we were going to do. So yeah, we were just a bunch of kids hanging out at Gertie's Folk City, in the dressing room and playing. Basically what we were trying to do was uh, do a combination of bluegrass and blues, because half of us were bluegrass people and the other half were blues people,
Yeah,
and jug band music was really the common denominator.
yeah,
So it worked.
yeah, that's great. So
And
now,
then we were all in school, and then Jack Holzman asked us to quit school and go on the road. He said, "This is the next big thing," and we said, "Sorry, Jack, we're going back to school." And that was the end of the Even Dozen Jug Band.
oh, really?
Yeah, I actually did the Johnny Carson show, and with Johnny Carson and Leo DeRocher
Oh, wow.
played comb. They played comb and kazoo with us.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Not, not,
DeRoche was quite a character.
yeah, yeah. DeRocher was. He was married to. You ready for this? I mean, I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago, but I can tell you that Leo DeRocher was married to Lorraine Day.
Yeah, I remember that. Now that
Is
you
that,
mentioned
is
it.
that incredible?
Yeah,
How I remember these stupid things, I guess when you get older, you just remember some of the stupidest things,
yeah.
and you forget everything else. How would I, Leo DeRocher married to Lorraine? And I just thought of that.
Well,
Somewhere in the back of my mind, there's like a little brain cell that's like yelling, "Hey, he was married to Lorraine Day. You got to tell Rick that." And there, it
well,
just
you
came
did
like to the forefront. I don't know.
very
Anyway,
cool.
yeah, thank you.
So, I saw the Blues Project at the Cafe a Go-Go at least
Mhm.
twice. Uh,
Wow.
you were actually one of my favorite bands of the era.
Oh, you never told me
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, really, how did that come together? And tell me about the Blues Project.
Well, it was the Danny Cal trio or something like that, and I had gotten back from a trip where he took to California, and I started teaching at the fretted instruments on next to the Waverly Theater on the
Okay.
weekends because I was still in college, and Danny Cal was a friend of mine, and Danny also is a student of Enrock. And Artie Traum, who was his rhythm guitar player, went to Europe. So Danny came up to the fretted instruments. He says, "Would you be interested in coming to rehearsal and see if you fit in with the band?" I said, "Is it electric?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I never played an electric guitar. Wouldn't know what to do."
Wow.
So yeah, I didn't. I had a J200 then, Gibson.
Yeah.
And I said, I know, the guitar has like chords and dials and stuff like that, but beyond that, so he said, "Well, come. We'll put a pickup in your guitar and come to rehearsal tomorrow, and we'll play some blues." I said, "Okay." So the next day, I came and put in a pickup on my acoustic guitar, and Danny, who knew nothing about technology, plugged it in, and the guitar was on amp, was on 10, and the amp was on 10. So this huge, horrible sound came out of the amp. This horrible, I mean, it was just, it really scared me to death, known as feedback, right?
Right.
And it wasn't until my third acid trip that I learned to love this sound. And that was the beginning of the Blues Project. So I sold my guitar, and this is when Dylan had played it just after he played it in Monterey. I mean, at Newport Festival. So all of us folkies were selling our acoustic guitars. Yeah,
The band ended up playing the Monterey Pop Festival, didn't you?
right. Yeah, that was great. That was really fun, as opposed to Woodstock, which I played with BS&T. But
We'll get to that too, but tell me,
right, yeah. No,
tell
Monterey was. I shook hands with Otis Redding, and I had well, dinner with Hendrix backstage, and well, dinner was a hot dog stand, but
me.
still, dinner was dinner, and my when my book came out, they promoted it by saying that I jammed with Jimi Hendrix. I never jammed with Jimi Hendrix. I shared a bag of potato chips with Jimi Hendrix, which I think is a lot hipper than
It is.
it is. Yeah, I mean,
Can
how many people have?
can I tell you a short anecdote of my
Please, yeah.
experience with Hendrix? I was a story you well know. I went into Manny's Music. I populated there and bought all my musical instruments there. And
Didn't we all?
yes, exactly. And
From
one
Henry.
Henry,
Yeah.
I'm walking in. Henry grabs me by the arm and says, "Come to the back of the store. You got to listen to this." So he pulls me back to the back of the store where the amplifiers are. And there's this young guy trying amps out, playing left-handed. And we sat there about 2 hours and listened to him. And I was just blown away, even though he was
Yeah,
just trying out amps. And I said to Henry, "Who is he?" He goes, "Well, he's got a group here in the village. They're called Jimmy James and the Flames.
that's right. Yeah.
He's Jimmy James, but I don't
Yeah.
think that's his real name." Well, it turned out to be Hendrix. So I had
Yeah.
a private concert for 2 hours
Yeah.
by Hendrix
Wow.
trying out amps.
Yeah, he was playing the Cafe Wah, and they were passing around a basket, and Richie was playing down there also around the
Yeah,
same time. And then right after that, we were playing at the Night Owl. That was one of our first gigs with James Taylor's band,
the Flying Machine.
The Flying Machine,
Yeah,
and what's the Jerry Jeff Walker's band? Uh,
I don't
geez,
remember the name of his band.
Circus Maximus.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
I think Lorraine Day was in that band. And so that was before we started. We were like the house band at the Cafe A Go-Go after the night out.
Yeah, yeah. So,
And that's where you saw us, right? And it was like, remember the brick wall was right in front of the stage, and the sound was bouncing back at us, which was insane because Danny Kalb, our lead guitar player, and Al Cooper, our keyboard player, they would like play the top notes, treble notes as loud as possible. It was like a Punch and Judy show, the way and so all of this was bouncing back onto us, and it was horrendous, actually. Thank God we were young and able to take it, but that's why I'm wearing hearing aids these days. That's what happened.
the Go-Go, I remember the two bands that I loved that I saw there were you guys and Jesse Cohen Young and the Youngbloods.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed their sets too there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there were some great people that played there.
Yeah,
Really incredible people. I mean, all of the San Francisco bands that played there, the Dead and the Jefferson Airplane, the Paupers from Toronto,
I
and
remember them.
yeah, there were some. There were some great nights at the Go-Go.
Oh, absolutely. So how did the transition from the Blues Project to Blood, Sweat, and Tears take place? Was that
I
was
think
that the, was that the transition?
it was right after Monterey. In fact, Monterey, Cooper didn't play with us. He left the band just before then, and they had rescinded our invitation. We said no, we're still coming out. We still have a band. We have somebody else playing. John McDuffie was our keyboard player, and so we played Monterey and a couple of gigs after that. And then I got a call. I left the band also because Danny was was had a breakdown and he wasn't really fit to play. And so I basically was on my own and coming up with ideas to do my own stuff. And I got a call from Cooper, and he said, "I'm going to England, and I want to do a benefit so I could raise the money for my transportation. And would you guys play with me? You and your friend Bobby Colomby and my friend Jimmy Fielder will play at the Cafe Au Go-Go for a weekend, and I'll make enough money, hopefully, to." I said, "Yeah, that would be great." So we rehearsed, and nobody came to the benefit, but Cooper did raise enough money for a taxi to get to the airport and back. So I said, "Well, now that you can't get over there, we might as well start a band." And that's what we did. And Al had an idea of having horns in the band, which he wanted to do with the Blues Project, but Danny didn't want that. And so we decided to have a horn band. That's not my wife. That's my dog. And
Do
hey,
how many dogs do you have?
two.
What
We
kind?
we we brought them up from Mexico. They're what you call rescues. We used to call them mutts. And we go down there every year and do we used to do sterilization clinic volunteer work for cats and dogs.
Oh, cool.
And we brought these two back with us.
Oh, and you have
Yeah.
parrots too?
We have two parrots. Yeah, they're right in front of me now, Cuckoo and Tutu, and they hate me. They they just want to rip my eyeballs out. But they're very funny, They, Paco, I'm going to rip your tail off if you keep that up. Any anyway, no, they control us. And,
Most do that.
yeah,
So I seem to remember reading somewhere that one of the inspirations for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, well, two of them were the Buckinghams and Maynard Ferguson. Is that
yeah. Well, for the
accurate?
horns, it was Maynard Ferguson.
Yeah.
For the Cooper and I were listening a lot to the Buckingham's "Time and Charges" album,
Yeah.
and the Buckinghams had the Chicago Symphony Orchestra horn section on a lot of that band. It was produced by Jimmy Guercio, who wound up producing our second album.
Right.
And we sort of wanted to base it on that and be able to take a horn section like that, which weren't doing stock R&B charts, and take it on the road. And that was really the concept, using our songs, mainly Cooper's songs. And that was the concept. Well, a lot of the songs in the first album were really from, or a few of the songs were from Dusty Springfield's Dusty in Memphis album.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I didn't until like a year ago. I said, "Holy shit, this is like these are our songs." She did her album before ours.
Well, I know if I recall correctly that in the one of the albums, I guess you had Laura Nyro, so one of the songs of Berry Gordy. So I mean, the big hits, the "You Made Me So Very Happy," "When I Die,"
Yeah,
"Spinning Wheel." I mean, those were written by other people too, weren't they?
yeah. And When I Die was Laura's, and You Made Me So Very Happy was Brenda Holloway.
Okay.
David actually wrote, our singer wrote Spinning Wheel.
So, what caused the transition from Al Cooper to David Clayton Thomas? And I just want to add that I read somewhere that you had also considered Alex Chilton, Stephen Stills, and Laura Nyro as possible replacement singers. So, how did that whole thing come down, and why didn't you choose any of them?
Well, we had a rehearsal with Laura, and we realized that we would just be Laura's backup band,
Okay,
um,
fair.
because it was she had her personality and her songs were so strong. We were just like, it wouldn't work for that reason. And but we got to be good friends. And as far as Stephen Stills go, I had dinner with Stephen, and he was very close with Jimmy Fielder, who was in Buffalo
Sure.
Springfield for a little while,
Right.
about joining our band and as the singer, which he didn't do. Is probably the smartest decision that he made. But this is when we were looking for somebody to take Cooper's place. As
Right.
far as Alex Chilton goes, yeah, I read an interview like, you know, 10 or 15 years ago where Alex Chilton said that he was asked to be. I said, wow, I didn't even, nobody told me about this. Like, I, I think he was, but I don't know who asked him.
He had a very
Great
cool
singer,
voice.
though. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Alex Chilton was great. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they were all. I mean, Laura, Stephen Stills, all very talented people.
So how did you find David and how did that come about?
I saw him at the scene. I think he had a blues band or something like that, and I felt his voice was the kind of thing that we're looking for. And so we asked him to audition, and he came down into our loft and sang "God Bless the Child," and I think I love you more than you'll ever know. And he just knocked us out. I mean,
A great voice, no
yeah, he's a
question.
great singer. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that,
I spoke to his publicist yesterday, actually. I think they found something on his brain.
oh,
Uh,
well,
yeah, but he's going to be okay, you know. But
that's good.
so I said to Larry, I said, well, I won't say the obvious joke, which was, of course, was I didn't know David had one. But anyway, let's get back to serious. But I said, send him my best. And
Absolutely. So I have to ask you something. I understand that Blood, Sweat, and Tears went on a U.S. Department of State sponsored tour in Eastern Europe at one point.
yeah, well, the film has been out now for a couple of years. I think it's on Amazon. You could actually stream it.
What's the title of the film for everybody that's listening?
It's called What the Hell Happened to Blood, Sweat, and Tears? And the reason is because the director, who is a great documentarian, he did a wonderful movie on Harry Nilsson and also on John Coltrane and on John Lennon and the IRS. John Scheinfeld is his name, and John gave me a call and said, I want to make a movie. Basically, it's about the Eastern European tour. I said, why would anybody? I laughed. I said, why would anybody? That was so many years ago.
Yeah.
And then he told me why. And it made sense because it was sort of like a thriller because we got kicked out of Romania. It was before the Iron Curtain came down. And the main thing was that the Nixon administration used extortion to get us to do this
Oh,
tour.
really?
Well, David was from Canada,
Right.
and here we were having #1 records, and the State Department wanted us to do a tour, and of course we didn't want to do it. And then the Justice Department came in and said, "Well, we'll take away his green card,
Oh, great.
so you'll lose your singer." So we had to do the tour. Nobody knew this until recently, and that's why John thought it was a great subject for the movie, and it actually is because the administration just they blackmailed us basically. We had to
Wow.
do. I was very much against it, and if you see the movie or read any of the clippings at the time, because I was a left winger, and I certainly didn't want to do it. And in retrospect, I don't think that we should have done it. I think that if we played hardball with the government, they wouldn't have had the balls to actually get rid of David. I think it would have been fine. And so we came back from the tour, and this is in the movie also. And we got killed by our left wing audience, and the right wingers killed us for. It was
Wow.
just,
No,
we were like there was no middle ground for us, and it was very sad to see that. And that's what the movie is about. And it's almost like a thriller. It's really incredible. I mean, usually if you see one of these things and it's about you have all these comments, and criticisms. And I only had a couple of criticisms. I think John did a wonderful job.
oh, cool.
To get to see that.
I've not seen it. I'm definitely going to watch it.
Oh no, it's on Amazon Prime, I think. And do watch it. It's a really, really good film.
I will. So let's talk about the album that went to #1, stayed there for 7 weeks. Uh,
Mm.
it was I believe, voted album of the year for the Grammys.
I
And
got all kind of, yeah.
yeah, 4 million US sales, 6 million worldwide sales, and maybe even
Yeah.
more than that.
Probably more, yeah.
Um, so,
Depending on who was at the CBS accounting department that day.
so how, what did you guys feel about the album after you recorded it? I mean, sometimes I know you can like go, we made magic, and sometimes you go, well, we think we made magic, but we're not sure. What did you guys think of after you
Well,
were?
we didn't know whether the company would even support us with Cooper gone, but we knew that David had the voice to get us hit singles, and we wanted hit singles. We didn't want to struggle anymore. I mean, between the Blues Project and I mean, after we moved out of our parents' house, everybody was struggling. We wanted to get hit singles, and that's one of the reasons why we had David in the band, and it worked. And it's still a shock, that it actually happened, but it's a weird feeling, when you walk into any store in America, listen to the radio and your records all over the radio.
Yeah.
Well, now it's not. Now it's in my grocery store and an elevator or something like that. But at least it's still there, thank God for that.
So talk to me about Woodstock because I know you played Woodstock, but
Mm.
I thought I heard somewhere that your manager or someone didn't want you filmed for the film, and so you guys weren't in the film or something. So what was that all about?
Well, the real story,
Yeah,
and
what is the
there's all
real?
kinds of rumors, is that we were booked in Woodstock about a year in advance
Okay.
by, Artie and Michael.
Yeah.
And the contract read, and it was pretty standard for us, that if we were in the movie, that we owned 15% of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
stop the cameras. It's that simple. I mean, somebody said, oh, that something about $5,000 would, or I don't know. It was all the rumors are wrong.
Oh. So do you regret not having been in the movie given the
Of course,
cultural? Yeah, I mean, I would assume so.
of course. Except we were so out of tune. This is an interesting story because we were so out of tune. I mean, it was when you have a horn section at 2 o'clock in the morning and it's raining. Nobody's in tune. Between the horns and the harmonica and the organ. It's like everything's it's crazy. And plus, you were stoned out of your mind. And it was just like awful. And we always thought that we played terribly. So it would have been horrible if we were in the movie because we pretty much sounded pretty bad. And then they put out the 50th anniversary, a box set.
Yeah.
And the guy who, I forgot his name, the guy who mixed it, right? He gave an interview like, I got the box set and I said, oh God, I got to listen to this. So I started listening and it was fantastic. It was like
Yeah.
everything was perfectly in tune. We sounded great. And I'm saying, how the hell did this happen? Then I saw the interview that this guy gave
Yeah.
about all he said, I had to use auto tune on some of the acts. He said, especially Blood, Sweat, and Tears, I had to put the horns in tune with the rest of the band. And that's what he did. And
Wow.
so it sounds great. That's all on YouTube. All of our tracks are on YouTube. And it really does, except for the one song, David forgot the lyrics for half the song. But when he came back in, he was great. This is like a sing along it's like music minus one
So,
karaoke.
yeah. So, in addition to Woodstock, I know you played Newport Jazz Festival. You played some Sid Bernstein gigs, stuff like that.
Mm.
What were your favorite gigs? Which did you stand out in your mind?
Oh, ooh, with Blood, Sweat, and Tears,
Yeah.
that's pretty hard to say because with Blues Project, it's pretty easy. I mean, Monterey was on the top of that list. With
Right.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears, it was. Let me quote we were playing these huge uh, arenas and stuff like that, right? And to quote a story of Lou Reed, when Lou played the Felt Forum,
Yeah.
and Mick Jagger came backstage because he wanted to meet Lou and he never met him. And he wanted to start a conversation with Lou. So he goes backstage and he says to Lou, have you ever played here before? And Lou says, how the fuck should I know? And that's basically that's basically what it was like. It's like Spinal Tap, like it's hard to know what gig was we
Was
played some interesting gigs, like really interesting gigs. Um, like the one in Poland was great. We played at Chino Prison, things like. But all of the things in between colleges and stuff like that, I couldn't tell you what the difference was.
So I know that you played with a lot of different acts on various bills. Were there any one or two that just you went, man, I am so glad I was on the same bill with that act? I mean, I
Well, we
know,
had some
yeah,
we had some great opening acts, like Bill Withers was on the road with us for a while. Bill was great. I mean, as a person, and he was just so funny and wonderful. And who else? John Denver for a while. We had some great people. As far as like opening or playing with people, yeah, one of the most memorable things was we did a 10-day tour with this BB King, 𝐬𝐻𝐫𝐞, Miles Davis, Nina Simone, who was an absolute horror. I mean,
really?
great, but oh, as a person, she put a note under David's door saying, "You have a lot of nerve to sing, a famous black anthem, God Bless the Child," which we did. And she got really pissed off that we did it. Somebody hadn't told her, evidently, that the song was written half by Billie Holiday and half by this little Jewish guy from Detroit. And but no, she was known as being sort of like very difficult. But that was a great tour. I mean, just being on the road with those guys, and of course on New Year's we opened with we played with BB King in Jersey, and then we did a pre-New Year's a TV show we did the first New Year's Rockin' Eve, which is still going.
Oh, really? You did the first one?
Yeah, the
Oh,
first one, and Al Green was on it, and I asked for Al's autograph, and he was like, "You're asking for my autograph?" Al was just beginning. I thought he was just so incredible, you know,
so
which
did
proved
you get a
uh,
lot of autographs from people that you performed with?
not too many. Al Green and Ted Knight from the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Oh,
That was the only two autographs that I got. I was just a real Ted Baxter fan, so
yeah, that was cool.
yeah.
Totally. So now, you also were a producer, if I'm not mistaken. You produced Lou Reed.
This is why I left Blood, Sweat, and Tears, because
Oh,
the
okay.
band was going into a more of a jazz direction that I wasn't a jazz player. I mean, I was playing country blues and folk music, before and blues, and the direction that the band was going in was just not my style. And so, we were getting friendly, Lou and I. We were rehearsing in the same place, and Lou asked me. Uh, he had come off of Berlin, which was a very beautiful album, but it was so depressing that I felt that RCA should have put single-edged razor blades in the cellophane when they marketed it. And and Lou said, "What do you think I ought to do?" And I said, "I think you ought to get these great musicians that you've been working with Bob Ezrin and put them together with, and do a live album." He said, "Well, will you produce it?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And that was my ticket out of Blood, Sweat, and Tears and getting back to rock and roll, through Lou. And so
Oh,
we worked together for 3 albums, 3 years.
and then you went into American Flyer. Was that right after that?
Yeah, right after that, Doug Yule from Velvet Underground and Craig Fuller, was in Pure Prairie League and sang and wrote Amy, and Eric Kaz, who wrote Love Has No Problem, a bunch of stuff for Bonnie Raitt. And we got together and we made an album for United Artists. And one of the reasons was Al Teller was the new president at UA. And Al said, "Well, I can't afford, because Sony wanted, CBS wanted us, and RCA." And Al said, "Well, what can I do to get you guys, because I can't really afford you. You can get George Martin to produce us." And that's what he did. So George Martin produced our first album, which is terrific. George is all over it.
Was it
It's
fun
a
working
lot of,
with George?
pardon me? It was great working with George. That's one of the highlights of my life also, is
Really?
working with George Martin. Yeah. He was as great as, you might think that he was. Very wonderful person, great looking charisma, and so great in the studio. He was wonderful. I mean, he had us do little things that, oh God, that's how the Beatles did that. It was really a lot of fun.
Did you talk a lot of Beatles with him?
Yeah, I followed him around, like begging him to tell me. And he at one point he says, "Katz, will you leave me alone?" And, no, it wasn't that bad. But yeah, of course, how could
Yeah, I
you?
know. Totally agree. Have you met any of the Beatles personally?
I met Lennon uh, at the record plant once.
Oh,
Spoke a few words, but that was about it.
yeah, I met Ringo once. He was very nice, but I
It's
never
supposed to
met.
be great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I never met Lennon, McCartney, or Harrison. I would have loved to have, but
Yeah, me too.
yeah. So you also produced something for Barbara Streisand. Is that correct?
No.
No, I thought you did
No,
something.
we did the soundtrack to The Owl and the Pussycat.
Oh, okay. So it
That's
wasn't
as
producing
close as.
her. It was the album soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what happened after American Flyer?
Um, I got a divorce.
Oh,
I had a very bad divorce actually.
oh,
And so I wanted to find, I had to find work. And that's how I got went to a corporate headhunter. And he said, would you be interested in taking an A&R job, with a record company? I said, what's A&R? He explained it to me. I said, sure. He said, well, because Polygram or Phonogram
right.
is looking for, I said, what's Phonogram? I had no idea.
Right.
He said, well, they're looking for an East Coast head of A&R. And if you're interested, I said, sure, I'd be interested. I'll take any job. And so he had me go out and do an interview with Charlie and Irwin, as who you know.
Oh, yes.
And
In
it was
Chicago,
funny because,
right?
yeah, right. Yeah, I had to go there like every couple of weeks, and then I had to go fly to Holland. But my first interview for the job with Charlie and Irwin was funny because they said, one of the questions they said was, what do you think of New Wave? And I said, I don't think anything of it. What I meant was, I never even heard of it, right? They thought that I was saying, oh, I don't think much of it. No, I wasn't saying that. I had my head up my behind for the last few years, like working on my marriage, and I just didn't know what New Wave was,
Right.
right? I mean, so that was it. They said, they looked at each other, said, wow, this guy's real hip, and they gave me the job. And so, and then a couple of years, no, a year later, I asked Charlie, I said, I'd like to have a vice presidency. He says, why do you want a vice presidency? I said, because everybody else has one in this company. So, okay. That means you get a car. Great. But I really hated the job. I mean, I hated making, decisions about people. And the only time I really liked it was when I started producing Horse Lips. And, then I was over there for 3 albums, spent a lot of time with them, and it was great. And I was back to rock and roll, and that was fun. And then what's his name came in, Sherwood, and he had his own guy from CBS.
Sherwood, yeah.
So I was gone.
So was Horselips the main act that you were involved with while you were doing A&R?
That and Johnny Guitar Watson,
Oh,
because I brought in, what was the name of ah, the label from Dick James Music,
okay.
and so I brought those two acts in, a few more acts, NRBQ, and they made an album that's a classic album today. And Charlie and Irwin did not want me to sign NRBQ. They hated NRBQ.
Really?
Yeah. I think that album would have been a hit if it was on another label. I think a lot of albums would have been. I mean, Mercury was a pretty horrible label now that I can say it, I'm one of the office. But yeah, it was, I mean, people used to come to me with tapes and stuff like that. And I have some very funny um, Mercury stories, but they would come to me with tapes, and the first thing I would say to myself is, "Why did you come to me?" They were like the last office in the record business, that you would come to. Why would you want your record on Mercury Records? I mean, because then it was we were owned by two acts, and they were licensed. It was Kool and the Gang and
Yep.
Rush, and
Yep.
they were both licensed. We didn't even have our own acts, so.
Well, for whatever it's worth, I remember that someone and it might have been Jim Taylor, but somebody at Mercury told me that they had heard a demo by this group Trigger, and they brought it to the powers that be that you're talking about at Mercury, and they said this will never make it, and they passed on it. Trigger changed their name and became Foreigner, and the demo that they heard was actually feels like the first time at Cul-de-sac. And
I
then
wonder if I was the one that turned it down.
I don't think you were,
Hmm.
but and then I remember, do you remember Bill Haywood?
Yeah,
He was head of R&B.
I remember Bill. Really like Bill. Yeah,
Yeah, I did too. So Bill calls me to his office one day and he goes, I want you to listen to something. It's going to be unusual. So I listened to it and he plays me the Breaks by Curtis Blow, one of the earliest rap records. And
yeah.
he goes, what do you think of it? And I said, "Oh, it's really catchy. I don't really, is this like a new genre or what?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, it's going to be huge." He said, "But I got to tell you, my bosses," and he's referring to the guys you're referring to, said it's a total flash in the pan and rap is not going to last the year out.
Meanwhile, meanwhile, I get a call from Charlie saying that I forgot who's the guy. Well, who's the guy that ran uh, was the oh God,
Lionel
the
Simmons, by any chance?
no,
No.
the Jersey label that the Cool and the Gang were on.
Oh, Delight, Freddie Fly.
Delight. It
Yeah.
was like a mafia label, right? So Charlie calls me, says the guy from Delight is going to come and see you with a tape that
Okay.
I want you to listen to. I said, great. So he comes and it's called roller skating disco, right? It's the worst thing I ever heard. So I passed on it. I passed on it. The next day I get a call from Irwin. Why did you pass? I said, because that's my job. It was the worst thing I ever heard. He said, yeah, but you just passed on what's his name, like I wasn't going to get my knees broken or something like that. And then of course there's the U2 story.
Yeah, please tell us the U2 story.
Well, I was working with Horselips, and they were Michael Deeney was their manager. Michael's best friend was oh God, who was the manager of U2?
I
Forgot
don't
his name.
remember. Uh,
And he managed it, and they were kids at the time, and they looked up to U2 or to Horselips, and they would come and hang out at the studio,
oh, cool.
and they would give me tapes and stuff like that, and they were pretty awful. And then I went to see them. Actually, I went with Muff Winwood, Steve Winwood's brother. He was working for Warner's. I came over from London, and they were awful. And so I passed on them.
Well, it's a good reason to pass if they were awful. They obviously got their act together at some point.
Yeah, I mean, good for them.
Yeah, no,
But
I worked them when I was at Island, and
yeah,
they, by then they were pretty good.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. They got better.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, but I remember vividly you inviting me up to your apartment and
Hmm?
showing me a Betamax VCR.
I think it was the a 3/4 inch, right?
Yeah, it
Sony
was the
three
first
quarter
one
inch.
I
Yeah,
ever saw, and
yeah.
there was some story behind it of why you had it. No, that they were asking you to try it out or something. No,
Really? I
yeah.
don't. I don't remember.
Ah,
I don't. I don't remember that.
but
But
it's so predated
yeah.
the onset of video recorders. It just stuck in my mind.
Plus, I remember being at the electronics show when it was at the Coliseum, and I was walking around with John Hammond, Senior, and John kept talking about video in the future and stuff like that. That may have helped turn me on to, but I remember that machine, and I
Yeah,
took it with me, and yeah,
it was very cool. Blew me away.
yeah.
So I saw.
I'm a film lunatic, and I
Are
still love
you?
that stuff. Yeah,
So do you watch a lot of movies regularly?
yeah. Yeah, I
Huh.
have a whole huge Blu-ray 4K collection downstairs,
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm a Criterion channel and the Criterion collection, and I'm on the Monterey Pop video, and they're
Ah,
so great. These people are so nice. When it came to out on Blu-ray, and I called them and I said, "Listen, I'd like to upgrade my copy because I'm on the thing." They just said, "I'll send it to you."
right. So I saw a picture of you with Chuck Berry on
Right?
stage.
Yeah,
How I've heard mixed stories about how he was to work with.
he was impossible. He
Okay.
was, he was. We were we got on stage. We were like he was supposed to rehearse with us, right? He doesn't rehearse with anybody.
That's what I've
He was
heard.
supposed, yeah. And so he comes on at the show, right? And so we're behind him, and there's Chuck Berry, who was, I idolized,
Of course.
and he's going into and he starts a song, and we have to yell at brown-eyed handsome man and G, like everybody's yelling at each other as to what song it was and what key it was. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants to get his money and leave.
Right.
I recommend it. There's a biography that came out a couple of years ago that's so fabulous, and you realize what a jerk he was. He was really an awful person, but it
Well,
was Chuck Berry. So.
yeah, absolutely. And what you're saying is what I've heard from others as
Oh yeah,
well. He would just
he
walk
was
into the gig and expect that the backup band would know note for note what he was going to play and the key he was going
he
to
didn't
play.
even care whether they knew it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then there was a concert that we did in New Jersey when I was with Blood, Sweat, and Tears that Chuck Berry was the opening act. And what happened? I think David got sick or something like that, and we had to cancel the show. So one of us had to go out in the middle of Chuck's set and tell the audience that we're canceling the show.
Oh, God.
And they said, Steve, why don't you do it? I said, what are you, crazy? I'm not going out. The guy's a lunatic. I'll get killed. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
So you did, though?
I did. I had to. Yeah. And I got killed.
So, in addition to Chuck Berry and Nina Simone, were there any others that you would say, oh my God, they were disasters? They were fabulous as
Well, Nina
musicians?
Simone. Oh yeah. I mean, as people, there were. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there were so many. That.
Who are your favorites then?
Oh God. I, wow. No, I should have thought of this because I do have favorites. Yeah, some of the people that we worked with, most everybody was really great. The only person that I really hated is David Crosby.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Should I ask you why, or would you
I
rather
can
not?
ask me one. Yeah,
Okay,
when I was friendly with Chris Hillman, and I went, those guys were playing at the Village Gate, and then we were jamming afterwards. Well, when you jam with David Crosby, it means you play what David's playing.
oh,
And so you
okay.
jam with David Crosby. But the worst incident was when I was an American Flyer, and there we were with George at a studio in LA, and Craig had his little dog with him, and George and I were talking out in the hallway and Craig's dog was there. This little Yorkie, and David Crosby comes out of the other studio, right down the hall, and he looks at us and he says, "Get that fucking dog out of here."
Really?
Yeah, that dog doesn't belong. And he tells this to George Martin.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
he's looking at George Martin. I mean, he doesn't have in his, George Martin has more talent in his pinky than David Crosby had in his whole mustache. And and I couldn't believe that this guy had the nerve to talk to this, and that's when I really started disliking him.
Wow. Wow.
But a lot of people disliked him also. Like McGuinn hated him, and McGuinn is a great guy. And
Yeah, I promoted McGuinn later in his career, and I really liked him as a person.
oh, great. Janis Joplin. We worked with Janis a lot. Janis was fantastic. She was
Really?
great. Yeah.
Was she as wild as all the stories I've
Yeah.
heard about her?
Yeah. She was totally wild, but she was a real lady. She was really fabulous.
Yeah, so I remember you played a Murray the K gig um, called Music and
Oh,
Dimension with
yeah.
Mitch Ryder and Cream and Wilson Pickett and
Yeah.
Smokey and that was part of the Blues Project era.
Yeah.
Was that a cool gig? I mean, it
That
sounded
was a great gig. That's one of that gig should have been as popular as Monterey or Woodstock
really,
because it was just incredible. It was the first time Cream and Who were in America, and some of the stories
that's
that
right.
came out of there were just so great. Smokey left uh, and didn't do the show, obviously because he knew Murray didn't have the money to pay him. The rest of us should. Yeah, it was one of those shows, and we all knew that we weren't going to get paid after a while, and we went out and got masks one day, and Pete Townsend tells this story also, and we shared the dressing room with Cream, and we decided to blow up the audience. So we threw explosives and flour and all that crap on the last night, and the Who threw the poor roadie for Keith's drums. His drums were like nothing. It was like boards. By the end of they were a wreck. And the last night we were throwing that stuff out. But my favorite couple of stories. It was funny because the Pickett's band was screwing little 15-year-old groupies below the stage, and but backstage, you had Pickett and Clapton and all these people. We were all jamming. And it was incredible. It was just
Okay.
great. Some of the music backstage wasn't nobody noticed about it. Nobody recorded it. And Pickett's bass player, I
Yeah.
forgot his name, but what Pickett would do, he would charge his band if they made a mistake, right? What's it called? He would charge them $5, right, for
Okay.
every mistake that they made. So the bass player and I got to be friends. And after it was over, we went down. I met him down at the scene, and I said, "How'd you guys do?" He says, "I wound up owing Pickett $35." And like I said, nobody got paid. Somebody chopped Jackie the K's, his wife's door down with a hatchet, and
Really?
but I got, I got to be really friendly with Murray just before he died, and because he was great. I mean, he was so goofy, even though he didn't pay anybody, he was still a giant, in
What?
radio. And I used to go up to his, in fact, when I had a British pressing of the first Hendrix album, I went up to Murray's and up to NEW, and I said, "You got to play Wind Cries Mary," and he put it on,
Yeah.
in rotation, it's a steady rotation. And Murray was great, so we got along, personally, and that was one of the great things about rock and roll. And that show was just, it was, I mean, nobody showed up, nobody was in the audience, and
Really?
Mitch Ryder had his fans. He had his management had people like attacking him on stage, girls screaming and stuff like that. But there was only like 3 rows of people, so it's like, why are they doing this? It was very funny,
Well,
and then and then the guys with like Cream. Uh, I went down to the Village one night with Clapton, and he gets out of the cab and has his hand on the bar in the middle, and I I I shut the door on his hand.
oh God.
Yeah, I could have committed suicide right there, but he was able to play that night, but he was in a lot of pain. And
Oh,
then there was one night when Ginger and I, Baker, when we went down to the dugout, and we got pretty ripped. And then I said, "Well, let's go to Gertie's Folk City and hang out." So we're going across the field, which is now a building that NYU built, to Gertie's Folk City. And halfway there, he bends down and throws up. I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "We're going to another bar, aren't we?" I just, this is like a quaint British custom that I just didn't know about. So I learned, during the Mercury K show. It was an incredible show.
oh yeah, it sure sounds like it. Um, Now you're a photographer. When did that start, or have you been doing that your whole life?
I was doing that mainly with BS&T because we were so bored on the road that, you had to have a hobby. So everybody was smoking pipes and taking their cameras. And I got into it heavily, but then I was out of it for a while. And then I had an excuse to get back into it because of my wife's work. Because uh, in the beginning, we would go to photographers and they would charge a fortune, and they were great. But I said, geez, I could do this. And so now I've been taking for the last 25, 30 years, I've been taking photographs of my wife's work and other craftspeople as well. And I really love it. I really enjoy photography.
So where can people see your photography and her work? I'll do a
On
plug for where it can be seen.
on her website, which is Allison Palmer, one L in Allison Palmer, one L, Allison Palmer Studio.com. It's all my photographs, but it's because her work is so wonderful that the photographs look look pretty good.
So how did you and Allison get together? Is was
We
there
just met. I was moving my house, and it was 37 years ago that we met. And I was moving my house, and she was a friend of a friend of that was helping me move, and that was it. And I hit on her, and I said, "Hey, why don't you come to my house? We'll watch Repo Man together." This day, we never watched Repo Man. You know, she kept turning me down, and I kept following her around because I loved her work, and she had a great sense of humor, and so we've been together for 37 years.
that's cool. Happily ever after. It's good.
Actually, it's a great marriage, and I'm very happy about it. So, and she is also, I think. When she gets back from her boyfriend's house, I'll ask her. No, I'm just kidding.
So I
They
have,
know that.
what do you think of today's music scene, music
Yeah.
business, music scene is vastly different from what you and I
Oh,
do.
it's totally different. It's weird. I mean, I'm so glad that I haven't had anything to do with it. It was bad enough that I did these little venues and concert halls and stuff like that, and that I was able to do that, and I did pretty well. But as far as like recordings and stuff like that, I made my own record a few years ago, but I didn't even put it on, the Spotify or any of that. It's not worth it. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't need to be popular. I
Right,
certainly don't. I don't need the money, and you can't get it anyway. If you're
right.
on one of these. I mean, the record business as we knew it was a lot more fun. It was actually more fun before you were even in it. When it was like, if you were a band in Manhattan, all you had to do was be alive, and you'd get a record contract.
That's right.
Sang one note, great, he's great. Let's sign him.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, and it's very sad because for the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years, there's probably a lot of John Lennons out there, kids that are so talented. But in America, you have to, they're going for MBAs and stuff like that because you
Yeah.
can't earn a living
Yeah.
being a musician. And the musicians that are around, are having a very hard time earning a living, unless you're doing show stuff, you're at Broadway or something like that, or
Right.
doing a lot of session work. It's very difficult.
Is there any part of your career I left out?
Uh, I don't think so. I think you've got everything pretty much. Let me think. Well, let's assume that that's enough. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, this has
Although
been
I'll get exhausted if I keep thinking.
well, this has been an absolute pleasure reconnecting, Steve, and I know people are going
Certainly
to
has, Rick.
enjoy hearing you for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fun. I'm all over YouTube and stuff like that. But people should really go to my wife's uh, website.
Website.
Her work is wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. After having seen it, I totally agree.
And we have workshops here at our we built a studio on our property, and we have workshops with some of the finest clay ceramic artists in the world.
So
We have people
where
coming
is
in.
it? Where
Pardon
where,
me?
where are you
Oh,
located?
Kent, Connecticut.
Okay.
So we have somebody coming in from Wales, and we've just had two people from Japan come in, and
Wow,
it's really great potters and stuff like that. It's fun.
that's great. So
Yeah,
the public can come?
yes, yeah, absolutely. Uh, and people say to me, "Do you do pottery?" And I don't. I said, "I'll do it when Allison learns how to change a guitar string."
Sounds to me like that may not be soon. The
No,
way
it's
you
not
put
going to be soon.
it.
I tried it. It's really disgusting, all that clay. That's very messy.
So do you still play around and when I say play around on guitar, I mean just for yourself or you
I do it for myself, but not as often as I used to. Like I say, I'm watching a lot of movies and I read a lot and I do websites.
oh you do?
I did my wife's and other people. We have a show in called Art and Design that my wife and a couple of friends put together. That's going to be twice a year in Kent, and
Oh,
it's some of the best local artists. So I just did the website. I've been doing it today also.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Kent Art and Design.
It's important to stay challenged and do new things no matter what age you are. It really helps, especially
Absolutely.
older. It keeps you more vital.
Absolutely. And we get that weekly food delivery, and which keeps me like I pretend that I'm a chef, and it's actually like building model railroads, with model planes, with the instructions. But you learn, about
Yeah.
a lot of cooking and stuff like that. But
There's a
yeah,
real,
it's there are things about getting this old that are positive. There's a lot of negative things, but there's a lot of positive things also. One of the things looking back, hanging out with guys like you that I've known for years, and seeing that you're doing really great also, and you're writing and everything. That's fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm enjoying life. My wife and my philosophy is have fun. I mean,
Good for you.
do no harm and have fun.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of it.
good for you. In fact, now that you say that, I should get my gold records back on the wall, but my wife will put a hatchet through my head if I do so.
Well, maybe if you have a man cave, you could put him there and tell her, "Don't come down
I
here."
do have my man cave, but all her masks. She does in Mexico. She teaches and does paper mache masks, and all the walls are filled up with her masks.
Uh,
All the tabletops are filled up with her ceramics. So I don't have room for anything. Fine with me.
I got it. Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure. It really has. And
It has been, Rick. Yeah.
let's stay in touch. And
Let's do that.
absolutely. And I obviously I wish you the best and a really, really long life. I wish that for me too.
Yeah. You also. Yeah. How old are you now?
81, just turned 81 4 days ago.
You're the only person I know that's actually older than I am, and only by a year. I'm 80. I just turned 80. Yeah.
All right. When in June or what
May.
day? And I'm July 6th. I turned 81.
Yeah. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think I'm hoping if other seniors see this, they will take some
Yeah.
inspiration from the fact that as you get older, you don't just have to crumble and die.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I retired from playing was because all my old girlfriends would come with walkers to my gigs. So, you know, this I think that this is a hint enough, for me to get out of this thing, stay home more. Anyway, it's great talking to you.
Same here. Thanks.
Okay. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.